Perfect, great.
Yes,
So thank you, Anthony, and also my side, a very warm welcome to all of you being interested in the results of our project TraceBot. My job today is to tell you about my view to the answer questions, how the TraceBot changed the world of robotics. And I would like to do this by linking you to our webpage. You find it at tracebot.eu, and this is the main graphics on our webpage. And I will explain to you briefly why this summarizes, from my point of view, perfectly the answer to the question. So one point is that we delivered and developed a traceability framework based on digital twin technology to solve the task of traceable robotic handling. Second, we developed tactile grippers, which are essential to handle the small pieces and the other objects are needed in the handling of sterile liquids. In order to do so, we also had to have to detect them. So the development of vision and tactile sensing was also part of our project. And overall method was delivered, our framework was delivered to flexibly adopt the process, not by a programmer, but by the end user, on how to use such a laboratory robotics system. We built also a built-in verification into this digital twin, which will be more or less the focus of my own presentation today. And of course, we not only had to handle wires, but we also had to handle flexible pipes and other objects throughout the overall process. The main result then, and this was is the feedback from many our discussion partners from our industrial advisory board and others from conferences, is that the most impressive result and how we changed the world is by combining all of this. So combining the sensor technology with the digital twin, with the tactile grippers, and with the programming method. And for me, for myself, it was especially impressive as this made all of us learn a lot, communicate a lot, cooperate a lot among the different partners to deliver this integrated approach and solution and demonstrator you will see in a few minutes. So also personally, our world has changed. So all of these people engaged in the project somehow changed over the four years. And regarding the technical aspects, as Anthony already mentioned, you will get 30-minute deep dives roughly at 2 o'clock today. So about the vision technology for transparent objects, the digital twin, the development of the tactile grippers, as well as the flexible programming method will be explained in more detail for all of you who are interested in these technologies. I myself, now in these very few minutes, would like to focus on the question with respect to self-awareness and qualification and the really unfriendly environment we met in our project. I will do so by starting with the built-in verification, comparing it to human-like verification and to state-of-applied technology in qualification, in pharmaceutical qualification of automated systems. I will share with you very briefly the ideas we collected in our robot-friendly design guidebook, and will finally share with you the feedback we got from industrial partners, from conferences, from regulatory authorities, and all as a summary. So the technical pillars of our verification are the digital twin, the tactile verification, the visual verification, and the functional verification, all tied together in our traceability framework. And these pillars in total allow us to answer the questions like, how should a situation look like in simulation? Does it feel like it was successful? Does it look like it was successful? And finally, taking a look at our sensor readings, does what we get from the situation, does this fit the mechanics of the overall situation? When we now not look into the technical technical details of our world, but look at the human and the necessity to qualify human processes, we know that all qualifications of human processes in pharmaceutical industry start with a process description followed by a risk analysis, which defines the checks to be performed throughout the process. I condensed this a little bit, but mainly these are the main steps to implement human verification in pharmaceutical processes. And then during operation, of course, all the rules which are summarized in the standard operating procedures are performed by the human who was trained on these rules. But in addition, humans are pretty much executing a lot of additional verifications which are not part of any SOP. For example, if you place a coffee cup on your table, you automatically verify that you placed it correctly on the table, and you will recognize and react if it falls apart or if it's not placed as you expected. And this is not written anywhere in any rule for drinking coffee. It's just your own self-awareness. In addition, if you look into your coffee, you will see, okay, it looks strange, or it's too hot, or it's cold, or anything else, which is unexpected, and you will react also to these, or you are able to react to these kinds of deviations. When we now look into the qualification of automated systems and the qualification of robotic systems, this reflects in these observations. The standard kind of verification is just the execution of technical countermeasures defined by the risk analysis and can be seen as a model-based or rule-based verification. But, and all of you who executed automation projects in pharmaceutical industry know this, in the moment you want to automate a process, you recognize, oops, the self-awareness is missing, and everything which is taken as a given in a human process or in a manual process is suddenly suddenly seen as a risk. So you identify or you describe countermeasures to handle the situation if, for example, the coffee cup is not placed on the table but next to it. And these additional, many additional countermeasures and many additional rules increase the complexity by far, and this way the effort and the cost of automation. And this is exactly the problem statement that TraceBot, which is targeted by TraceBot. We deliver self-awareness of robotic systems, and this allows you to mainly stay with the rules defined in the SOP, which are compared to a requirement specification for an automated system, or rather only few statements, and leave the rest and test it, but more or less leave the rest to the self-awareness of the robotic system. Stepping back, looking at the human process and comparing it to it. So rules like verify the batch number has nothing to do directly with TraceBot. It's just a rule which is described somewhere, and if you produce a pharmaceutical product, you probably will have such a rule somewhere in your process. Also, if you recognize that the kit foil is damaged unexpectedly, or the temperature of the room is wrong, so anything which is not a consequence of the manipulation process, this we somehow handled in our project, but it is not the core of TraceBot. But the core of TraceBot really is the self-awareness, which recognizes the success of a manipulation executed by the system. So, for example, did I place the bottle as expected? And we defined this for standard functions with standard verification. If you take something, if you grip something, our system is self-aware. If it gripped the thing, if it gripped the bottle, if it placed the bottle and placed it there where it was expected, and we compared to the digital twin. Now, leaving the self-awareness part, coming a little bit more to to the process itself. You find our complete process description with all the details for your own research on a GitLab, which is publicly available. And when you look at it, you might ask yourself, why is it so complicated? And all these ideas which answered the question, how is it so complicated, we collected in our robot-friendly design guidebook, and there we say, okay, why should we guess if we can know? So please provide these CAD models, 3D object models, if you provide something to the process. Provide the interaction sites. Why should we guess or determine by ourselves how to operate an equipment by the robot? This can be delivered by the different vendors of, for example, here C2 equipments for the same purpose. Also, if the interaction sites are named, this makes it, of course, much more easy. Then clear positions, for example, enabled by item fixtures, are beneficial, and a clear shape. Yeah, seldomly it's a really must-have that all parts of an object are transparent, and it would be allowed that single parts of the object are, for example, of a certain color. The feedback we got for all our research, we tested in different scenarios. We went to a lot of conferences, but we also went to a concrete company, in this case Lanza, who applies then automation for bioburden testing. You find the description of this automation at the ISPE webpage, because the application itself won the Robotic Application of the Year award in 2023 within the area of quality control labs. And we asked Lanza and discussed with Lanza, with the applying industry, what would have been the benefits if the supplier would have engineered the machine using a product like TraceBot system, including all our research results with respect to effort, quality, and implementation, validation, and operation. And the result, after discussion, we summarized jointly like this: if there would have been a product like development environment, there would have been a huge gain in time saving during installation and testing and qualification. And during operation, the TraceBot perception would have avoided unplanned stops. Of course, we didn't verify this, so we didn't implement TraceBot there, but this is the expectation, the expert expectation after discussing and matching our research results versus a very concrete existing automation. We also presented our results at the last Robotic Application of the Year award. We won the trophy for Future Software Trends in Pharma, awarded by the jury. And the audience, an audience of 150 experts in pharmaceutical industry, ranked us second with respect to attractivity among all 19 pitches, which we took ourselves really as a great success and valuing of our results. So we also spoke to regulatory authorities. The main feedback here is that the methodology of traceable robotics is not changing the process itself, and as all of these organizations focus on the process themselves, it's not their core focus, but they all like or love the idea of standardizing verification, because from their point of view it's much better than the individually functional checks, and also the collection of a rich pool of data for quality control and increase of efficiency. Summarizing all of this, how did TraceBot change the world? TraceBot enabled self-awareness in the way I explained it to you, and as all my colleagues will show it to you and demonstrate it to you, we got very positive feedback in all our sessions with industry, with regulatory authorities, and the main value seen by most of at least my contacts was really the combination of sensor technology, simulation technology, digital twin, artificial intelligence, and all together creating a self-verifying and self-aware system. Thank you. And with this, I would like to give back to Anthony.